This episode is brought to you by Prime. What if you had one more chance with the one that got away?
Sam.
You came home.
Based on the best-selling novel from Carly Fortune. Every Year After follows childhood friends Sam and Percy as they reunite in the dreamy, nostalgic lakeside town of Barry's Bay.
Love can be hard to find. So if you're lucky enough to find that person, never let go.
A second chance at first love. Every Year After, now streaming only on Prime.
Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over-medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey, this is James Lomenzo from the mighty Megadeth, and you're listening to Hook Rocks with my good friend Jay Scott.
Who's to say that I can save myself when pity leads to joy and praise and everything else? Figures of my own imagination substitute the hope of losing all the fear I've been staging. Watch it spin, not do anything to make it go round. My carousel, just watch it spin, not do anything to make it go round, round.
What's shaking, everybody? It is another episode. It is Jay Scott. It is the Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you stopping by. As I always mention, we are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, the excellent, great, awesome network of music-related podcasts. You can check out my friends like Vinny Appice and Carmen Apice on the Hangin' and Bangin' podcast, Tom and Zeus on the Shout Out Loudcast and everyone rated Kiss podcast, the legendary DJ out in Boston, Mistress Carrie, the rock historian Martin Popoff, Mac on the Ugly American Werewolf in London podcast, as well as Chris and Aaron on Decibel Geek. So check out all those and more. There's something for everyone on Pantheon, depending on what your musical taste is. You can find them on pantheonpodcast.com and on all social media platforms. Just search up Pantheon Pods, just like you can search up the Hook Rocks on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget to write us a review wherever you podcast. We are available on all platforms like Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. And you can check out the previous 400 or so episodes. We've been doing this now for 3+ years. So give us a listen, set your app to automatic download so you get the latest episodes right to your phone, and you can enjoy all the previous episodes as well. We've had some great episodes recently, some great new music spotlights like The Ravagers, Bourbon House, The Issue, The Warning, Ignescent, and plenty of others. We just interviewed Tuck Smith as well as Tyler Bryant. We did a great live album review with UFO, Strangers in the Night, Whitesnake Legacy Show. We celebrated a 3-year anniversary with Stephen Piercy from Rat, and we celebrated 400 episodes with members of the Groove Council, a close-knit internet Twitter group that shares new music. So a lot of the stuff that I post and a lot of the bands that I interview really kind of starts from that Groove Council group. as well. We all contribute with each other in terms of new music that's really turning us on, and we want to turn you on as well. So check out that episode. And recently we just did the building a home recording studio in 2022. We had our resident audio expert, Skylab, come on to discuss what you need, where to start, and why it is the most economical, feasible way for a new band or artist to record music. So check out that episode as well if you're interested. And Skylab always brings it when he talks about whether it's earplugs at concerts, whether it's headphones, whether it's streaming services. He knows all about that audio stuff. He's always great to have on. We've got another great episode for you today, another new music spotlight with a band that has been really kind of under the surface now for the last couple of years, releasing some really great music. They just released a new EP. This past month, I was able to get the limited edition vinyl, which I was extremely happy to get. And I think great things are ahead with this band. They're from California. We're going to be talking with the lead singer, Mikey, from Desert or Talking Shadows. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up? I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you doing this. As I always say, thank you for the time, and look forward to getting to know you and the band here over the next 45 minutes or so. But as you know, if you listen to us, we always start the same way every time we have a new guest.
Yes, sir, yeah.
And that's really what we're about with this podcast. It's really learning everyone's music journey and where it started. And the question to you is just like every rock song that has a hook that hooks you in. Every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a song, an album, a band, or performance that hooked you on rock and roll. What was it for you?
Yeah, and I thought about this question all week, and I'm like, what was the real first one? I would kind of credit Aerosmith, and I guess it would be more so not really towards seeing them or hearing them, but there was a certain moment when I've always loved music. Like I would go more towards maybe like a Van Halen or Guns N' Roses. When I first heard like those kinds of bands, I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? These guys are incredible, and it pushes your soul. Like, oh man, rock and roll is, that's exciting. But for me, what like really hooked me into, I guess, wanting to play is the song "Walk This Way." I performed it a long time ago in a theater with my the music school I was going to, and just the feeling of being up there playing that song. I did like an improvised solo at the end. I never looked back. I got off stage and I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. And for me, it was that moment, even though that was obviously I had been playing. I think it didn't hold me as well up until that point. And I was into other stuff like football. I'm still into football, but that was when the moment I was like, oh man, I'm hooked. I'm playing the guitar. So I would give it to Aerosmith. Yeah.
So when you think about that moment with Aerosmith and the next step, like where it went from there, where did that journey continue to?
Honestly, I started playing right away. I think the next moment would be, I had a shoulder injury, so I quit football. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this music thing. I'm going to choose to do that. And I really just absolutely loved it and enjoyed it to the point where I was in my room learning every single like Guns N' Roses song, solo, anything you could imagine, like 12 hours a day in my room during the summer. And then from there, it's like, let's make a band. And that one, I guess, the band Royal Blood, I listened to that record. I'm like, there's only two of them. I can do that. So I like got my little brother. He played drums at the time. And we tried to make a band. We played some shows, and, we started just like everybody else. And we played to like, first like 4 people in a coffee shop. Then it was like, 20. And then it was all the way up to like hundreds. It's like we just started building and playing a lot. So that was kind of like the next step was, learn all these songs, learn my style, what I like, and then how can I get on stage and play with a band? Because that's so exciting to me. Even still now, it's so exciting.
Was there a performance that you saw that made you want to perform, get up on stage?
There's been so many. I still get those kind of like feelings even now because I always feel like I'm learning just by watching. And like the other night I saw the Gorillaz, and it's like every time I see an act I've never seen for the first time, even though I've heard their music a million times, it's like it just gets that much more exciting for me to get up on stage because I'm watching them going, oh wow, they did this and that and that. And I mean, back then I went to a lot of Slash concerts. I did see like Van Halen a couple times, Aerosmith, and seeing those guys and the way they interact with their band members and with the crowd, those all stick out to me as big moments in learning and also just like creating music on my own. It's like, oh my gosh, this is what you can do with this instrument. You know what I mean? And then from there, you got to push it to your own style, push your limits. So I would say some of those bands in the beginning.
The fact that you play guitar and you sing, was there an individual musician that influenced you because of doing both?
Yeah, and I'll give two answers for this because answer number one is I was sitting going, okay, I just left a band where I was just singing, and I was thinking, okay, well, I'm learning to sing now, and I never wanted to. I always just wanted to be the guitarist in the back, kind of rocking out. I always just wanted the frontman. Then I became the frontman, and I'm like, okay, well, if these guys can do it, and by these guys, I mean like, Joe Walsh with the James Gang, I would say Eric Clapton and Kurt Cobain, Nirvana. Those three like really gave me the confidence. Oh man, these guys, they all can, play and sing and do these things at a high level. I absolutely was like, let me base my band on those three, guitarists and singers, songwriters that I love. And then on the other hand of it, I was hanging out with my buddy Jared James Nichols, who I owe a lot to in my career so far. So shout out to Jared. He's my big bro. He told me one time, if you can learn how to sing and play at the same time, write your own songs, no one can ever stop you. Like, despite whatever may happen, with a lineup or whatever, like you can do this long term. And it seems fully true on my account. So I've been really blessed to be able to work hard on my voice and my singing and the songwriting. Voice, guitar, and songwriting all together. So
I've had this conversation with my son because he plays guitar, and I've always told him, and my friends that are musicians have told him that he should learn how to sing because it'll make himself so much more attractive to a band if he can do both. If he could sing background and he can play lead, he's so much ahead of his competition in terms of who they want to be in the band. I mean, obviously you got to play, but if you have the chops in terms of singing and guitar, you'll always have a gig.
Yeah. I mean, think about Beatles, think about Van Halen. They all sang background. It's like, and obviously in the Beatles case, they all sang lead too. So you think about some of the greatest bands of all time, and it's like, oh man, they can do everything, and that's why they're that big. There's nothing really to stop them. So it's always exciting.
Those Van Halen background vocals are just still mesmerizing. I mean, I've bing listening to Van Halen since I was 7 years old. For 40 years, I've been listening to that band.
Yeah,
and I still shake my head when I hear this guitar crunching, swagger with this band that has like these Beach Boys, Dave Clark 5 background vocals. It's so like, and it's never been duplicated. It's never been, I mean, people try, people can sound like this band or that band, but there's never been a band that sounds like Van Halen because it's just so hard to duplicate just with the guitar playing itself, right? Eddie's playing.
Yeah.
And then the background vocals, and then this over-the-top frontman who, was like this, whatever he was, but, and then Alex laying down the drums. And even when Sammy joined, Sammy could sing, like hit, with the range that he had. And then you heard the background vocals in 5150. And it's just still, everyone talks about Eddie's guitar playing, and of course they should, because he's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
But people do talk about their background vocals, but I don't think they ever put an equal sign with the background vocals
on the rest of the group
playing, and the way they were able to merge that together. It's so unique.
Yeah, exactly. And because I'm such a fan of music, I study like this kind of stuff, just like watching and learning. And what I noticed a lot with David Lee Roth is he'll sing all the verses, all the bridges, but the choruses are mostly Eddie and Michael. And sometimes Alex, I can't remember off the top of my head, because I think sometimes he had those little mics right here. But I know the other two for sure. They will always sing the chorus. When Sammy came in, it was a little similar, but there's still some parts where now Sammy's able to sing, the choruses. Not that Dave couldn't. I think that's just their style, and it's just so it's so cool, because it's like, I've always wanted to try something like that. We haven't gotten a song there yet, but I've been telling Dietrich, our drummer, I've been like, yo, you gotta start singing, and he's been doing excellent backing vocals. So we're working on doing kind of stuff like that, but in our own way. And like you said, no one will duplicate, those guys, because those guys have their own sound.
And it wasn't just a product of being in the studio. Those guys could do it live.
Oh yeah. And when I saw Eddie, I don't think I've ever seen a better guitar solo live. It's just like, because you always hear the stories of, that, and obviously he could play, but you always hear the stories about the way that he would write his solos would be kind of chopped up, and then he'll go and learn them after they comp it together, which is really not easy to do anyway. But then for him to go out and just like improvise something, and now you see why. Okay, out of those 6 solos that he put all together, he could have just left one, and it would have been better than like almost any other guitarist you'll hear, in that era. And it's like the little details and the little, like, one more, like always trying to push yourself, that is what makes Eddie, and why, they probably all were that way, because obviously you can't have it to where you're not all perfectionists. People are gonna get upset, at each other. So I think they were all, really good at that.
Yeah, and the fact that he was such an amazing rhythm player too.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that he could go from rhythm into a solo back on beat into the rhythm again, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that he was a drummer and a classical trained piano player before he picked up guitar. So he knows timing, he knows rhythm very well. And you hear those early records where they're just recording Eddie playing the rhythm into the solo, into the rhythm again on a beat. Like he doesn't miss a beat at all. It's just truly amazing. Like there's no like rhythm, cut the solo rhythm. It's just him playing all the way through. That's how they record those early albums.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just, I honestly, I envy that time, because I really don't enjoy listening to things that are like, you can tell, okay, they had to stop and, do it properly. I mean, on the newest record we're recording right now, we did it to where we played live through, and I didn't have to. I practiced enough to where I didn't have to do that. I could do it the Eddie way, just like play it all the way through, and we kept it. And I was very proud of it. And so I'm really glad that music exists, like Van Halen and all those kinds of bands, because like you get the real craftsmanship, and when you're going to see them, you're not getting anything less than 100%. So and they're an excellent example of that. So.
Your writing style, your lyrical style, where does that come from? What's the influence behind that?
Honestly, it changes quite a lot, because when I started out, everything that I write is about my life or something I see around me, a friend, whatever, it's all true. But I guess on this newest record, on Misato, as we were writing the songs, I really wanted to kind of dig deeper on lyrical content, because Foreshadowing, it's got some good moments, but I just thought, I could have done a little better on the vocals. Like, to me, it was like I didn't give enough of myself, I guess. I was looking more about the outwardly view of like whatever was around me. So this time I went more introspective, and yeah, I'm really proud of how it came out. I mean, there's songs in there like Don't Blink that talk about, how to handle your kind of, when you're kind of like that, the way I just explained about Eddie, like when you're a perfectionist, sometimes it tears everybody kind of apart for a second. But everyone really has to understand that it's all for the greater good. And so in the case of that song, I'm really proud of those lyrics, kind of because of the way I phrased things. And but yeah, I taught myself pretty much on the lyrics, on how to just kind of convey them, and I continue to push myself to find better words, find better rhymes that most people don't use, because a million fucking sad, bad, glad in the world, but if you rhyme, I remember a couple albums ago, not with this band, but I remember one of our producers said that he liked this one. I never knew you were plastic, but my heart just got its ass kicked. Something like that. Like, just something ridiculous, but it really, you can tell it's like an Eminem style, I guess. And I always keep him in the back of my head too. So,
Is it difficult going from observation to more introspective style of lyrics?
No, because I feel like I've come to really know myself, and the better that I know myself, it's easier to see, what's going on, and also with other people too. So it's easier for me to dig deep into myself, especially, I like to give, with our music, give a little bit piece of who I am and who we are. So, there's been instances where, and these songs aren't out yet, but Dietrich, our drummer, has written lyrics. Jack's written lyrics, and yeah, we just all kind of just put in really, really vulnerable things, and it's always the best songs in the end. And yeah, ever since this record, Misato, I've really just kind of dug deep for the next record too, and moving forward, I think a lot of this stuff is going to be very, very introspective, very the way I see things. Some will be still more ambiguous, but it's all coming from what I believe and how I see the world. So
the music usually sets the ambiance of the song, right? The lyrics is what people hear, and they hear the music too, but they connect with the lyrics a lot. But the music, which creates the tone of the sound or the song, has to fill that connection with the lyrics. And being both the guitar player and writing the lyrics, how do you merge that tone that fits the lyrics?
It really varies, which is the classic cliche answer, but it is true. When we craft something, usually I'll know exactly what I want to write about. There's some instances where it takes me a second, it takes me maybe a week or two to really think about it. But like on Carousel for this record, I knew exactly when I heard Jack's bass line. We actually, a lot of times I'll mumble things in the room just to get them out, kind of stream of consciousness, like Scott Weiland from STP used to do that. And so in the room, whatever came out, which was for Carousel, I stuck with for those choruses and the pre-choruses, and then the verses were the last thing. And I was like, okay, I can tell already where I'm trying to go, so let me just let it out. And I sat on this one hill with my acoustic, and I wrote the rest of the lyrics out, and it's a pretty easy process once, like you said, once you hear kind of where the tone of the song is going. I try not to let it be too formulaic, I try not to let anything be too formulaic. I've been around some bands that are like, oh, I gotta write this song for the radio, I gotta write this for this reason, and I'm like, fuck all that. Like, I write it because I love it, and if I love it, I know someone else will love it. Yeah, I just really believe in when we hear like for example, Automated, I can tell from the way that we wrote the guitar part and just the overall energy of the song, it's got to be more somber lyric. In that case, though, I could have written it probably about, something more somber worldview, but I chose to go more about me in a romantic setting, somber in that case, and I really love how it came out because that's just what felt natural. So a lot of times I just go with what feels natural on any song, and hopefully I don't think about it too much. Sometimes I get doubtful about the words I'm using. I'm like, let me change that one. That one's too basic. So, but overall, it's pretty natural. Yeah.
Is it important though for the music to match the lyrics? I mean, some people, we've all heard those songs that are kind of like have this happy-go-lucky type of style, and then the lyrics are really dark. When you're creating a song, how do you gather all that together, or how do you develop a vision for the song you're writing?
Yeah, well, I think the vision all starts like a lot of the times when I'm in my bedroom and I'm writing a song or writing the riff. I'll just be laying back just like this, watching something, and kind of I'll stop when I start to hear something I'm playing that's really interesting. And when the point where it all connects is like when you start to get that verse going into a next section, and when that next section, usually when I hear that, it dictates the overall energy of the song. Even sometimes, what the feel of the drums and bass should be like. Sometimes I don't bring those ideas in because I trust my guys to nail it, and they're amazing because as a band you have to really have chemistry, and we have such chemistry. They a lot of the times will put things on there that without me telling them that are exactly what I saw in my head. So sometimes the vision's just very, very much like organic and beautiful in that sense. Because like with Carousel, once again, we were just doing a jam, and for whatever reason, those lyrics came out, and that the way that I guess to answer what you're saying, because you're saying kind of like the mood of the song, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So because you're right, a lot of bands do put like some darker lyric over a happy thing. I guess when I do it, I do it very sarcastically. So yeah, a lot of sarcasm sometimes in a happier song, and other times with the heavier songs, it's like it's got to be dark. Other times it can't be too dark because then it goes into like that metal territory. Not that we give a shit about genre, but we don't want to be overly heavy when we're not, when it feels a little like forced. We always want it to be very, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Let me just stick with that, see how it comes out.
When you talk about foreshadowing, as you just mentioned, you feel like you could have done things better on that album. Is that something that when you reflect on it, you feel that, versus when you're recording it, that thought process that you mentioned earlier is not there yet?
Yeah, exactly. And so the whole vision around foreshadowing is like, I'm a big fan of Nirvana. So like, I know that their first record, Bleach, it really showed like what they can do songwriting wise, what they can do with the energy, like heavy and go that route. And in each record, we're very much like, I guess more so like Queens of the Stone Age, where each record will sound a little bit different in style, but it's all us. So with foreshadowing, our ability, I guess, wasn't as honed in as it is on Misato, and you can hear it in the playing. I mean, Dietrich's a monster, and some of those, kick drum patterns and whatever the hell he's playing are, 10 times a step up from foreshadowing. So that's why I don't ever mean to put that album down, because I do still like that album. We all do, and a lot of people still love it. But the difference in ability is what I guess I'm talking about. And there's nothing I could, as you said, like maybe it sounded I was very regretful, but maybe to contradict myself, I wish we were at a higher level for those songs, but the plan really was to put it out so that people can hear us, know who we are, and we can go get some gigs. And then for this one, it was more like honed in as far as this is who we are, this is how we want to do things from now on. Because when you listen to this record, it's like, one part to one part, and they're not really straightforward, except maybe, Don't Blink and Automated. And it just opens up the possibilities and, of course, ability, like what we can do.
Well, that's kind of the essence of being an artist, right? When you're recording something, you have to believe in it. However, when you're moving on to what you're doing next, what you're doing now, you look back with a different set of eyes,
a
different thought process of what you can do to be better as a band, as an artist. And of course, that's when you start to pick apart the flaws of what you believe are flaws,
in
order to get the more out of the band, the more out of yourself when you're creating. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of artists feel the same way because they'll look back and they go, "Oh man, I don't like to listen to that record. This is when that happened." But there's also the other perspective of like that was that time. So it's really cool to hear like what we were in that time. But to hear the growth is just so exciting. It's like in about 1-2 years time, how much we grew is very, very exciting. And even the next one, like how much we're growing in just 1 year apart from Misato. Obviously it just got released, but we recorded a year ago. Is very exciting. So I definitely think that the snapshot stays there of that time, and that is a correct statement that you made. At the same time, it's like when you're moving forward, you're really how you say, when you move forward, you're happy for it, but you're also like, okay, now it's on to the future. Like, let's move forward. Like, we don't have to worry about, like we're probably not going to play a lot of those songs anymore. We're going to play, the Misato songs because that's where we're at now. Kind of like Mars Volta kind of do the same thing, that band.
I think a lot of fans don't understand that concept. And, when they go see a band live, they want to hear the songs they know. Well, based on what's happening in the current state of rock music, there are really very few hit songs, right?
Yeah.
So when you go and you develop a set list for what you're doing and you're into what you're now, of course you're going to want to play what you're into, like where you're at with the band.
Yeah.
Like you said, Foreshadowing is a great album, but you're not there anymore. You've moved on. It's in the rearview mirror. So it's kind of hard to get into that headspace when you got new material coming out and then to go back. I mean, the days of bands being like Van Halen, we talked about in Eagles, where they've got songs that are charting on not mainstream rock, but like actual top 40 Billboard.
Yep.
Those days those just doesn't happen anymore. So, what happens when bands would have those songs, it almost would be like they become hostage to playing those songs over and over and over again, because that's why people are going to go see them. Whereas a band like Desert of Talking Shadows and other emerging bands, they have the freedom to really play what they want, right? I mean, of course, you judge things by streams now and you have those numbers, but at the end of the day, you really have a lot more flexibility in a set list than you would normally have 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when bands had to play these songs. And I remember the quote Don Henley said, in order to be in a rock band, you got to have a high tolerance for the same thing every night.
Yeah. I mean, we've had to play our song Cold Hard Floor quite often because people love it. And so when we don't play it, they get kind of disappointed. Yeah. And we don't want to disappoint anybody. We love the people that we play for. But some shows, it's like, I'd rather play a different slow song. You know what I mean? I'd rather play, maybe Automated because that's a little slower. It does pick up, but it is a little slower. So in the set that night, it might feel better for that song. And like you said, if we're because we're not huge yet, we can do that. I do believe one day when we're that big, it's going to be a little tough because then people will get pissed off. And word travels. If you don't play your hits, you know what I mean? And you don't have to play them every time. Kurt hated playing Smells Like Teen Spirit, and so they wouldn't play it sometimes. But that's why I believe you have to be such a great songwriter that you have multiple hits, so you don't have to worry about playing the same ones. And I think that's a great thing about bands like Eagles. I would throw like Red Hot Chili Peppers in there, who I saw multiple times on their tour, and they played a different set every time, and I was so happy because they didn't just play, the same hit. They played a different hit, and I'm like, I'm trying to be in the stadiums like that because then I could play whatever the fuck I want. You know what I mean? So it's more exciting.
So the new album is out. It's called Misato, and it's a great EP filled with great songs. And yeah, and the packaging of the album was really cool. I know my son, when I gave him his copy, he was like, "They look like rock stars on this album cover." So that was, that's the perspective of a 17-year-old, which is cool, right? That's kind of what you want. But what was the approach to this album? We've talked a lot about moving on and moving forward and evolving as an artist, evolving as a band. But when you guys meet and you're putting together the songs, and maybe people bring different songs or different ideas to that initial meeting when you're going over what you wanted, the roadmap to the album, if you will.
Yep.
What was the roadmap for this album?
It was, I believe it all started with Carousel, and it was all during like the COVID time. This is not a COVID album, I don't like to talk about all that stuff because it's depressing and who cares, it's like now it's now. So I always like to make a record that feels like it could be for any time because it's so personal, because people have feelings. And so if you write about what you're feeling at the time, someone will have bound to felt the same thing, down the line, which is so great about some of our favorite timeless records, So even though it was written in that space, because everything stopped, everything introspectively, you can kind of look at yourself and go, well, I have nothing to do, so I have to work on how I feel, So basically that's how it started. And one day when Jack was jamming that riff with Dietrich, I walked in from the other room. I picked up my guitar. I just started singing and playing those chords. And so it all started with Carousel. That was the first piece of it. And I believe after that, at the time I was listening to a lot of like Arctic Monkeys. So that's how like Hourglass came about. I really love Arctic Monkeys. And I was like, they have a lot of songs that dynamically really change with just vocal rather than instruments. So, and they have the instrumentation dynamically change throughout some of their songs too, but there was a certain vibe I wanted on it. And so that's how kind of Hourglass came to be. It's like a Bowie mix with like Arctic Monkeys. Automated or Don't Blink came third. And then funny enough, the first song and the sixth song, Empty Hearts and Falling to Fables, were both last. We had the 4 songs and we were like, okay, it's done. And then I was sitting going, I don't think it's done. Like, we need an opener, because Carousel was originally the album opener. So we wrote another song, Empty Hearts. That one was one of the most fun to write, but also one of the most difficult because there's so many options it could have went in, with all the riffs and all the changes. So yeah, that became the opener to the album. And then finally we're in the studio doing the demo before we went into the real studio. And it's in a different tuning. It's in all standard except the A string is dropped to G. So it's just dropped that full step. And I was just messing around with this riff. And, whenever you're in a new tuning, it's like super inspirational for a guitar player, bassist, whatever. It's like, oh man, that's exciting. So I'm messing around with this riff, and Falling Through Fables kind of came out, the main riff and then the verse riff, just like out of nowhere. And then same thing, we're in the room rehearsing, and we're like, you know what? I think we need a sixth song, guys. So sixth song was Falling Through Fables, and that was the whole roadmap pretty much. We didn't really sit down and say, do we want to make new music? We write all the time. I mean, we write almost every time we get together. We get together 3 times a week, so it's like, you know, it's a lot of songs, and but that's what you need to be in Desert Talk Shadows. You need to be, you know, ready to write and ready to play, because music's the most important thing in all of our lives. So, you know, why not do it to the full potential? But last thing I'll say about that is the cover artwork, because you're talking about like that your son thought that we looked like rock stars, which is super cool. We did as you'll see on the insert, we did a photo shoot in the desert specifically for promo for the record. And I just saw it in my head about a vision about the chair and the stopwatch, or the pocket watch, sorry. And just kind of what we all looked like. And our photographer is so kind, a friend of Dietrich's, super nice guy, Mike Farrell. Shout out to Mike Farrell. He took the beautiful picture in the desert. And that picture is unedited. It's literally that we got the lighting so nice and the perfect time. And then I sent it to our good friend Aya Owens, who also another shout out. She's an amazing illustrator out in Japan, and she did the cover artwork. She did the cartoon like of us, and I wanted it to look like Wolverine, the comic, and so that's why you got the strip up top with the name, and then the Misato, what's it called, and a kanji in Japanese up there, and each symbol on there, it symbolizes a song on the record. So I thought that was fun.
How does that all get created? Is that something that when you're discussing the roadmap of the album, that's part of it, or does that develop as the songs are being recorded?
A lot of times it all comes together, because like when we start to write, sometimes I'll get a music video idea right away, or you know, artwork, or a you know, whatever. So I believe this time around we had, I want to say we demoed a couple songs and then did the shoot. But once we start deciding that it's going to be a record, that's when I say, okay, it's time to figure out artwork. So I'll say to the guys, hey, do you guys have any ideas? Or if I have one immediately, I'll start to immediately find someone that can bring it to life. So I think the thing about the one thing that did come after a little bit was when we decided, on the way to the shoot, when we decided in the car about the comic book strip, I believe me or Dietrich said, hey, why don't we put a symbol for each song on the front cover? And there's a band I really like called The Kills that did that but they did it in like a tattoo way, where they went to this tattoo shop and each song had like a certain symbol. And so all the fans just got their favorite song symbol on their arm or whatever. So I thought, that's so cool. So, you know, I was like, don't blink as the eye. We got the spotlight on the whole thing. That's from one of the lyrics in Automated. You got the kanji for Misato up there, along with the carousel, for carousel. And then, what's the last ones? Empty Hearts. That one again could kind of be the spotlight, or the kind of the symbol right here with the watch. Hourglass has the hourglass, and that's pretty obvious. And then Falling Through Fables, that's the one that, to me, this record almost turned out to be almost like a concept record, even though it wasn't intended. So to me, Falling Through Fables kind of just is it's the encapsulation of the record. And that one technically doesn't have a symbol. I would just say that the cover is the symbol, you know, so.
Now that the album's recorded, it's out, and you have this body of work that you're developing, you know, with Foreshadowing and now with the EP. Where is Desert of Talking Shadows going next? Like, where, obviously you want to get out and support the album, but with all this happening, what is the goal here in the near future for the band?
Yeah, well, the goal really is to continue to grow our fan base and continue to obviously improve our production and the records that we're making. So, I mean, it all kind of encompasses together, especially for a young band like us, that the better that we can become and gain more fans, the more the fans support us, we make more records. And the real next step for us is touring, which will be next year. We're going to book some small little tours, anything that we can. I'm looking into buying a van and starting to get everything rolling. But yeah, I mean, everything from booking agent to record label. So if you know anybody, put the word out, because I'm telling you right now, we have great vision for this band, and on every single song, every single record, what we want, and what, a lot of artists don't have visions. They just kind of go into, a place where they think, oh, I've made it, and then everything's kind of like thrown at them, and they're like, I can't just do something or do less work than I was doing before. For us, it's like, no, we expect to do more work. We expect to do everything we can to make sure everybody knows our names. So that's the next step, is making great music, getting on the road with it, taking Misato on the road. I cannot wait to play these songs, man. They're so fun. We've played them a little bit around town, but we want to play them on tour. We're gonna hit Chicago for you guys, so you guys can come hang out.
That's always good to hear. That's fantastic news. But isn't that really the nature of the beast now, is getting out and playing, going to play live? The days of, money hitting your bank account as you just, sit on your couch, those days are gone. And it's really the album supports the tour, the EP supports the tour these days, versus the tour supported the album years ago. And, there is a grind that emerging rock bands live in. And I have this conversation a lot with a lot of the new bands that I have on this show, is living through that and being a part of that. And
yeah,
it's important for a band to be on the same page, all members, and all have the same expectation, and not have something that, you show up to be in a band and all of a sudden you snap your fingers and it's all happening. There is, in today's day, you really have to, look out for yourself. You've got to, do a lot of DIY, do it yourself.
Yeah, very much so.
With that, there's frustration, because I believe that, good music must be heard.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think music in itself, especially rock music, can thrive without it being in mainstream, without it, because I think, and I'm going to say something that may get me in trouble, when you have mainstream rock, that means corporate, that means people are getting into it, like that shouldn't be getting into the music.
Exactly.
And that's when you get Nickelback, right?
Yeah, and well, I will say nothing to Nickelback, because I do, our band actually enjoys a little Nickelback compared to like an Imagine Dragons. What I mean? I don't want to. I think Nickelback. Dragons. Yeah, because I think Nickelback has a little better lyrics than like an Imagine Dragons. But yeah, in general, I agree with you. Everything on the radio right now just sounds like the same exact thing. And rock and roll is supposed to be about individuality and just being who you are. So the fact that they all sound the same, I'm like, you're not rock and roll, dude. You're literally taking what the label's telling you and, and absolutely, just conforming to their system, which if you listen to, what's that Sirius XM station? If you listen to Octane. If you listen to Octane, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I try to listen to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, each band has the same production, the same type of chorus, the same vocal. And I'm like, why is this like this? But then in the same respect, I'm also happy for it, because then bands like me and my band, Desert Talking Shadows, stick out a lot more, because we don't fit that mold. And in some terms it is harder to get heard in that way. But in other terms, I'd rather keep my how do you say, my conviction and my the word's escaping me right now, but the ability to do whatever we want, whenever we want,
the freedom,
and people still respond to it, even sometimes more so than those other bands because it sounds different, you know.
Why don't you think that message that you just said, because it's true, rock and roll is about individuality. It's about going against the norm, going against authority. I mean, not in a violent sense, but in a kind of in a fuck you sense.
Yeah.
Why is that message lost on the majority of young people these days? Because I remember that was part of the lure for rock music for me when I was growing up, right? I mean, the Motley Crue, the middle finger, the Ozzy Osbourne, the attitude, the edginess, and that stuff all exists in rock music today. But for whatever reason, rock music can't get its message out to the masses like it used to. And again, it kind of contradicts what we're just saying. Like, do we want rock to kind of get out to the masses? In some ways you do, but in most cases you don't. But I think, is it because younger people have become so programmed by filtered and formula pop music where they don't understand when they hear when a real instrument being played, or people harmonizing lyrics without auto-tune, right?
Yep. Yeah, they can't tell the difference. Like, it baffles me because, like you said, because everyone does it, there's no, people don't understand, but like a lot of the times when you listen to something that's not, automated, vocal automation with this and that, you really start to feel it. And you're like, why do I connect so much to this? It's because they're really singing it or they're really playing it, you know? But when it's all, messed up by the computer, the laptop is playing. You're not playing. The laptop's playing. And so they get so used to that. And I get so irritated. I think about it all the time because, in our band, we make it a point, we play everything live. We do everything that we have to do to rehearse, to be good enough to perform these things. So on our record, I'm not singing with auto-tune. You know what I mean? You'll hear a flat note here and there, you know what I mean? Or a sharp note. But I love it because when I listen to Nirvana, that shit moves me, and In Utero is one of my favorite records. He's flat on a lot of the songs, you know what I mean? But he sounds so fucking good. It's how he wrote them, and he even said, I want to make a record that I want to listen to, and so that's what we did with Misato. We made a record we want to listen to. And,
it's like when you hear those live tapes of Led Zeppelin and you hear Jimmy Page living on the edge with his guitar playing. And some people call that sloppiness, right? Oh, he's too sloppy. But that's kind of just like rock and roll.
Yeah.
Like finding the note and jamming and just the chaos and that edge. It could all collapse at any moment, right?
Yeah.
It could all go off the rails and be a dumpster fire, but it's not. It stays on that track barely. And it gets through. And that's what makes it so awesome is that experience of hearing that. And, I run into this every now and then online when someone tries to convince me that someone who develops samples is that's an instrument. And I'm like, no, what they're making the samples out of are the instruments.
Yeah.
Somebody created over hours of slaving over something. And now someone's just picking apart that drum beat or that bass line or that guitar riff and sampling it in a song over and over again. That's not creating. That's stealing. For someone else's benefit. That's not an instrument.
Yeah, and think about like that. There's a Jack Harlow song out right now, and it's got the Fergie sample, but he didn't change anything about the Fergie song. So it's really him rapping over a Fergie song, but they call it his song, and he's winning awards for it. I'm thinking, he did nothing. The producer literally, he can rap a little bit, but like musically, it's not creative and it's not really talented because the producer is just taking that little thing, putting it there. Okay, we have a hit already because it was a hit in 2000 whatever. All you have to do is put some words on it, and we're going to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's ridiculous. And I fully agree with what you're talking about. That's why when we create, we really make it a point not to pick anything off from other people, you know, because a lot of bands will do that even by accident, and it's tough. You really have to listen to a lot of music to catch those things, you know.
Yeah, well, my view on that is I don't mind if something sounds familiar, or you know, it's lifted from another song. Mm-hmm. However, they're creating their own song, and they're making it their own, right? I mean, you can still have, you know, a song that sounds familiar that's kind of lifted. I mean, Led Zeppelin did it all the time.
Yeah,
but those
or
songs,
like Isley Brothers.
Yeah, those songs that Led Zeppelin did though are Led Zeppelin songs because they are taken from the original, like "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You" or "Bring It On Home" or "When the Levee Breaks," but they became their song because they put their stamp on it, right? I'm okay with something like that. Like, I'm good with that. The issue then I have is like when something is like completely from the image to the music, it's like, you know, what are you doing? Like, everybody kind of knows what you're doing. And I guess for the younger generation who never had bands that they were sounding like, or they're emulating, I guess it's good for those young kids to experience that.
Yeah, because then they go back and go, you know, oh, this is what it is, you know what I mean? But even in that case, it's like, you know, I don't know. I'm very much about it needs to sound like individuality, like we talked about. It's got to
sound like you guys.
Yeah. So even when I listen to new bands, it's really tough for me to connect because I'm immediately like, you know, I hear you know, sometimes you can hear the influence, and that's always fun to hear because you're like, oh, they listen to this and this and this, but it sounds like them, right? And even with our music, you can tell, oh, we listen to Queens of the Stone Age, we listen to Nirvana, we listen to this and this, but it doesn't sound like we're that actual band, you know what I mean? I'm not singing like Josh Homme, I'm not singing like Kurt, I'm singing like me, you know? So, you know, same thing with Dietrich and Garrett and Jack, so it's just, I hope things, I think things will get better soon because you know what they're doing right now? I noticed they're starting to switch all the pop people over to rock. I noticed that, like,
they're calling pop music rock music now because they need to win another award at the Grammys so they can increase their streams and their album sales.
Yeah, and their legacy. But I do think it's a good thing, not because of that reason, but because the second that like labels and stuff in the industry start to see, oh, rock's making a lot of money, even if it's like pop rock and it sounds like shit. If people like Demi Lovato and Miley Cyrus, who are currently making rock albums, or continue to make like money off that, they're going to start coming to find real rock bands, you know what I mean? Like the ones in our area that we play with. And I feel like the real stuff's going to come up, you know, and start to be the forefront, which, I mean, you saw they did it with mumble rap. That doesn't last. The only thing that lasts is real talent and work ethic, you know, and the real love of music, individuality, like we talked about. But I think at least it'll lead to that road, hopefully.
What's the next vision for Misato? What's the plan?
You know, we really wanted to do a music video. We tried. And we had some scheduling conflicts, so I would love to still do a music video on one of the songs. Other than that, still like I talked about the touring. We're gonna start playing those songs all the time and get in a van and go across the U.S. and maybe even hopefully Canada and UK because we've been trying to get out there for a while, and UK keeps telling us come over, and we're like, we need a little bit more money and time, and we'll be there, you know? So we're working on it. And yeah, so the next step for Misato really is, like I said, music video and touring it a shit ton, you know?
Mikey, this has been a good time, good conversation. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'd love to come back next time.
Let's do it. When you start touring, you can come back on and we can talk about the tour.
Yes, sir. That'd be awesome.
That is Mikey from the band Desert of Talking Shadows. Get their album Misato. It's available on all streaming services. Go to their website, desertoftalkingshadows.com. It's got all their social media links. And is the vinyl still available, or is that limited run over?
The vinyl is still available. It is a limited run because by the time we tour and stuff, it will sell pretty quickly. When we play live, things start to sell. So yeah, get them while you can, because I'm not sure if we're going to reprint them for a while. So
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jay Scott. This has been another episode of the New Music Spotlight on the Hook Rocks. Take care of each other. Stay safe. We'll talk soon.
I'm a slave to my device, 'cause I know that you're always looking on the other side. We only speak in tongues, 'cause we can't resolve it if we're both playing the broken one. There's nowhere to go. Step inside my head. 'Cause honesty, apologies, overrated. You'll never know the things our drugs we said, but I can't stay, keep away, automated. You want a love story, fantasy? I'll be your scissor hands when you be enough of a rider for me. You only love me when I want.
Have no fear, Chosen Foods is here to defend your favorite foods from the forces of seedy oils and sketchy ingredients. With cooking oils, salad dressings, and mayo, all powered by the good fats from 100% pure avocado oil and simple, delicious ingredients. Chosen Foods.
Stitch Fix. Stop shopping. Get styled.
Not today, sweatpants. Somebody's wearing jeans that fit.
Wow! No photos, please. I'm just a regular dad who happens to have a stylist.
I really look my best when someone else makes the decisions.
Hey, we can all see you two-way mirrors.
Just share your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. Stitch Fix. Get started today at StitchFix.com.
I want to hug you. I'm going to hug you. I'm coming in for a hug.
Summer is calling. And your favorite artists are at Wolf Trap. Tickets on sale at wolftrap.org.